G'day and welcome back to the Talking Leadership TV podcast series. Thank you for joining us today. Today's podcast is focused on challenges facing leaders, and I had an excellent discussion with my guest today, Antoinette Barr and Mclaughlin. By way of introduction, Antoinette is a typical fun, caring, adventurous, Jesus-loving 34-year-old who's very much focused on helping youth, having led several youth church groups since 2014, and she specializes in areas such as anxiety, depression, childhood trauma, spirit healing, and healing limiting beliefs. From a professional standpoint, she is now a trauma and mindset coach, a certified NLP practitioner, and business consultant. And according to Antoinette, she's had the privilege to help hundreds of other people step into their true identity, full of authentic confidence and self-worth. My second guest today is Mclaughlin. I've had Dre on the podcast multiple times, and he's helped me to promote this platform, which I'm forever grateful for. He originally grew up in the UK, was living on the Gold Coast, and is now back in the UK. And he's gone from some low points in his business career, having $3 to buy food for the week and not knowing where his next meal would come from, to making almost six figures from one event a couple of Decembers ago. Dre is a multi-award winning creative entrepreneur with 20 years experience in sales and recruitment. He's now in a joint business partnership with Antoinette and ultimately wanting to help professionals and business owners amplify their influence so they can have a profitable and predictable business and live a purposeful life. I really enjoyed today's podcast discussion, but enough from me. I'll hand over to Antoinette and Dre. G'day everyone, welcome back to the Talking Leadership TV podcast series. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to present my guests, Dre and Antoinette. Nice to have you here.
Hey Eric, great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No worries. Now, for some of you that have followed the podcast, you have probably heard or watched the videos I've done with Dre, but this conversation takes things in a slightly different direction. As I've noted before, I'm looking at some new key areas to have leadership conversations around. The one today is around challenges to leadership development, and you're both very well placed to have this conversation. So I guess we'll call it an introductory question here. Before getting into this space in terms of developing leaders, what did you think were some of the key challenges that were out there?
I'll let you go first.
So for me, I think I thought that the most of the challenges were going to be them sort of learning the skill set, learning the strategies and the tools that we're teaching. I thought that was going to be kind of the biggest challenge initially. Yeah,
and for me, it would probably be more about managing people. So, you've got different personalities, and how do you, I guess the example I can give is, say you've got a football team, and getting that whole team to work together to win, say the Premiership. So at the moment we've got Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, and it's so close, only a few games to go. So how do you get the best out of your team and manage all of those egos?
Sure. And so when you were actually engaging with the leaders you engaged with, what came out of left field? What challenges were presented that you weren't expecting? Because I would assume, before you answer, I would assume that you guys have dealt with leaders in lots of different capacities. So we all bring some biases, whatever the word is. Geez, it's a Friday afternoon, so apologies for this, but your own perspectives to what those challenges might look like. So what came out of left field for you that you thought, oh shit, that wasn't expecting that?
So for me, like I said, I thought kind of going into it would, my experience in business previously was in the catering industry, and so I've seen a lot of kind of lazy work, people that just want to get their salary at the end of the day, but they don't really want to do anything. They don't really even, people that are in management, it's they just do the bare minimum. So I kind of thought teaching how to do things would be the biggest issue, but actually I think it's more that mindset work and having that belief in themselves, because that's the most challenging part to crack with someone, because once that's cracked, they'll do it and they'll see the results. But that's I found that sort of where people get stuck the most.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. And for me, it would be sort of realizing that people have no matter what level you're at, people have the same problems. So there's a devil at every level, and Antoinette can talk on this a bit more, but it's some of the solutions is doing that inner work on yourself to be able to move up to that next level. And some of the differences that I've seen or that we've seen is that, say, if you've got guys just starting out like in business, they've got so many, I guess, limiting beliefs, whereas the guys at the top, they've already dealt with those limiting beliefs and they're able to make decisions a lot more, yeah, quicker. So that's what I'd say.
My interest in that response is, do you find that it's an age-based thing or an experience thing? And not to pin you on this, but I've been thinking about this for quite some time because I'm a leadership tragic, as you know, and I think a bit maybe too much about this. But one thing that's gotten in my head is it a factor of experience in the job, or is it a factor of the age of the individual, or some combination of those things?
Do you have thoughts on this? Because I'm just thinking about the people that we've worked with.
Yeah.
The majority of them are between the ages of say 35 to say 55.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, so we work with a lot of, or we used to work with a lot of new coaches, and they didn't have very much experience, or they've spent a year or 2 years trying to make the business work or trying to launch their business, yeah, unsuccessfully. Yeah, what would you say experience? Sorry.
I'd say, yeah, I definitely say experience and again that belief in themselves above age, because I've seen some very young, like 20-year-olds, have that belief in themselves and absolutely crush it.
Right.
And then I've seen, like kind of older age, even 60s, like have that belief in themselves and crush it. But then I've seen the opposite as well, where they, all the fears come in, the doubts come in, the what ifs, that fear of failure, the imposter syndrome, all those things that everyone sort of struggles with that holds them back. So I kind of, yeah, I would definitely say experience and mindset over age.
Yeah, I'd agree. Experience.
Sure. One thing that strikes me as interesting in these kind of conversations is, and my previous podcast guest, the last podcast that dropped was, and I was speaking to Anis Haddad, who brought up this idea of the midlife person has got to that point in their career where the kids have grown up, or you're coming to that sweet middle bit, or sort of the end bit of a career, and the amount of life experience you've got can't really be compared to you in your 20s and 30s, and there's very different mindsets in those two camps. So and I'll ask this of both of you from a practice point of view, irrespective of that age, the age question, the experience question then comes to mind for me, in that despite that you might know some 20-year-olds that crush it, do you think the confidence in the people you deal with outside your business, they want to see someone with a bit of life experience in there versus someone who is in their 20s? I'm not saying that that's not possible, but I'm trying to be realistic here about having this conversation. You're dealing in the world of business, and I think in some sectors, youth is a massive advantage, and in others, maybe not so much. I'm just looking for an opinion here. It doesn't have to be based on your clients. It's a topic of interest for me. I was just wondering what you might think on that.
Yeah, I'd say it depends what industry that you're in. So in the coaching industry, which is an unregulated, yeah, industry, you've got, say, coaches out there that have got some great life experience. Some may be qualified, some may be unqualified. But if I was going to look for a coach, their age wouldn't really matter. It would be, their experience. Have they travelled the path that I want to travel?
You
And if
ageist,
they,
you. Sorry,
So
go
if
on, go
they,
on.
yeah, if they, if they have traveled that path, whether they're 20, 30, 40, 50, then it'd be their experience for me. So as long as they've done it, they can walk the walk, talk the talk, then I'll be able to get to that goal, as soon as possible.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say exactly the same. Like for me, if ever I'm kind of looking to a leader, I'm looking that they are where I want to be, and that I can see that they've gotten to that place that I want to be. Then so it wouldn't matter to me, age or anything. It's that experience that they can deliver on what they say they're going to deliver on. Because I've seen a lot of people sort of claim to deliver on things that they've not yet achieved themselves. And I think as leaders, we have to have that congruency and we have to be authentic. So, yeah.
Leader or leadership authenticity comes up a lot in the conversations I've had. I have some mixed views about authentic leadership as a group of, or sorry, as a singular theory. For me, being yourself and conducting yourself with the values that you want to bring to the place, I thought that was just common good humanity rather than being authentic. And in the workspace, whether we want to admit this or not, I think people bring their work persona to work, which can be in some ways very different to their non-work persona. So I get the authenticity argument. For me, it's more about legitimacy. So if I'm going to follow someone, if they get in the trenches, they get their hands dirty, and I see them willing to own mistakes as much as I point them out in me, that you're more likely to resonate with that leader than not. And so having made that not earth-shattering observation, do you find that ego gets in the way when you're trying to develop the leaders with you? I don't want you to name any particular leader that you've worked with,
Okay.
or that you might know from previous lives, but have you found that sometimes getting over the ego bit in the leadership space is a challenge? And if it is, how do you get over that hump if you can?
Oh, great question. I'll let you go first if you've got an answer.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say yes. I do find that it gets in the way. Yeah, big time. I think there's always an association with feeling like that, again, that imposter syndrome, or feeling like they're a failure if they sort of admit their mistakes. Whereas part of what I try and do is help people to see that, as we're growing as leaders, mistakes, setbacks, that's part of the journey. But as long as we can be honest, take responsibility, and have that self-awareness, that's how we're going to grow. If we try and hide it and pretend like it's not happening, that's where we stay stagnant. So.
Sure. And they probably make for the more interesting human beings, because if you're going to make your job fun in some ways and you guys are developing other leaders, they're not all going to be very much coming to the table and saying, yep, I'm an open book. How can you help me develop? So those people that put some challenges your way are probably more interesting. But sorry, Dre, you were going to respond, and mate, sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, no, so I was just thinking about, it's very hard to move a parked bus, and like sometimes I'm not saying it's like clients, but clients, people that we know, um, sorry, what's the question again? I was just completely thinking.
Does the ego
No.
get in the way?
Ego.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
So I was thinking about two things. I was thinking about myself in relation to ego, and I know that coming into or starting business, coming into I thought that I could do everything like myself, and I didn't want to get help from anybody. But it just takes you so much longer. And if you have, like a leader, a coach, a mentor, you can literally ask them a question and have the answer instead of going onto Google or YouTube and trying to find it. And I know it's the same for for some of clients and people that we know, because maybe when we're talking to them, they're saying like yes that they're going to do stuff, and they don't actually do what they're supposed to do. And I think it all really comes down to those fears. So there's perfectionism, procrastination, what's some other ones?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Fear of failure. Fear of success as well.
Yeah, so many that stops people from moving forward and doing what they should do. And yeah, for me, ego was a big one.
Sure. So, in wanting to get some clarification here, as much as you have helped leaders in their journeys, have you helped to coach, mentor entrepreneurs, or has it been leaders? And there's a reason for asking this, because I think in this thing we call humanity, I think entrepreneurs think a little different to your leaders in your corporate and that not for profit space, and um, they're they look at the world, I believe, and this is an opinion, qualitatively different. I mean, I could write a paper on it and maybe justify myself here, but I think I really do believe that there is a difference between the two. So while I've got you here, I might ask the question then, have you found a difference? And if there was a difference, what was that difference?
Great question. Yes, there is definitely a difference. So for the last couple of years, we've been helping, coaches build their business. Now we're still helping coaches, but business owners as well. The difference, what would you say there?
I think it depends on the individual as well. So we've had some coaches, some entrepreneurs come through that, this is their focus, this is what they're doing. So they'll put everything into it. And we've had some come through that have jobs on the side and they're wanting to build a coaching business, but because they've got that security, there's not really that sort of drive to kind of do what needs to be done, because it's not just a sit back and your business builds itself type of area. Like, there's work to be done, and a lot of people don't want to, or don't want to find the time, or things like that. So I think excuses can be a big one if they've not got a huge motivation to do it.
Sorry to interrupt. And I feel it does come down to the person as well. So depending if they're in corporate, depending where they are on that corporate ladder, and if they are driving to be a manager, a CEO, or someone in those leadership positions, they may be very focused on towing the company lines, and then doing everything that they can do, maybe stepping on some toes. And when you're like your own business entrepreneur, you can pretty much do things how you want to. You can do it like your way, and you don't have to really answer to anybody. The only people that you have to really answer to is your audience or your potential clients. And we've got this saying that your vibe will attract your tribe. So as long as you show up online, offline, as the best version of yourself, and we've used that word authentic, then we truly believe that you're going to attract the right clients to you.
That's it's an interesting space, and I've asked this of previous guests, and if you'll indulge me, I might put the following to you both: that do you get very particular about the clients that you'll take on? Do they have to have similar values to you, or don't you care about that? And look, I think the question is important, because the responses I've had previous to that question was, hell yes, it matters to us or me, and I've let go of business because of it, or I've had a suspicion the client is going to be a nightmare, but I took the job on anyway, and it was the worst experience I've ever had. So does your own value judgment there guide you, and have you seen that applied in any of the clients that you've had previous? As in, have they done that for themselves?
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to answer, or do you want me to go?
You go.
Yeah, so we've come to a point where, yeah, who we work with matters. And I know that probably about 4 years ago, and the business is very different at the time. I took on a client that I didn't really want to take on, and I did it because of, I needed the money at the time, and I gave him a discount as well, and I ended up doing so much more work than I would have done. My body, my gut, everything was telling me, God, universe, Buddha was telling me, don't take him on. But I was like, I need the money. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because after then I decided that I didn't want to help people anymore, get jobs and things like that. But what we've realized, what we've discovered over the last couple of years, is that the certain type of clients, like now we can identify if someone is ready to actually put the work in and to take action. So as I mentioned before, there's lots of people that will say that they're ready, but they aren't actually ready. So there's a saying, there's because we want to work with people that want to change, not want to change. And like now we're very particular that people need to be at a certain level in their business, so not at the start stage, for us to be able to work for them, and for us to be able to deliver the best. Is there anything you want to add on there?
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. Like, I'd say we've learned from those mistakes, and we've learned from, kind of saying yes. Because when you're just starting out, when you're building a business, you just sort of, entering into that world of entrepreneurship, you kind of like, you want it to succeed. So any client that's willing to, pay you for their services, you're like, yeah, come on, let's go, let's do this. And we've both, individually and together, learned the hard way. So now we have very kind of strict criteria that people have to meet, and it's an interview process as well. So yeah, we're very kind of selective now with who we work with, because we find as well it's frustrating, because if they don't want it and if they're not ready, we can want it more for them, because we can see the potential, we can see what they can achieve, but we can't carry them. They have to do it. And so it can get very frustrating as well, because you're just hitting your head against the brick wall. So yeah, we definitely are very selective now with who we work with.
Yeah, and it was like what I was saying about the parked car analogy. So you can't move a parked car, but if some people just take that handbrake off and the car starts to roll, there's probably push start nowadays with cars. So, get into gear, and then away you go.
Yeah, that an interesting set of responses there. I in that world of taking somebody on and getting really invested in their success can be a poison chalice. And I think from the consultants that I've met, the people in your space that do this work, that and I've never asked, because I didn't think I had the right to ask, but you guys have shared this, so you've kind of answered my question, that um, there is a very fine line, it seems, from wanting the success for your client and them actually wanting the damn success. Because if they don't, and it's almost a danger, is you help them get the success, and then once you are detached from the business, all of that skill set and that learning has sort of gone out the window because somebody else did it for me. And look, I'm sure there are circumstances in many businesses when buying in expertise works. But if you don't own the final outcome for yourself, particularly if you're starting your own business, I think it would lead to all sorts of, well, shit if you're not careful with the process. And I couldn't think of a more technical word there, but I'm guessing that in setting up this kind of relationship, and it's interesting that you've got a screening process. If it were me, and I don't have the nous to start my own business or do something like that, but if I did, I'd want to interview you too to work out, well, do we align here, or is this going to be potentially nightmarish for me? Because I would assume that some business professional development people that work in that space to help leaders sort of find their why or clarify what their why is in their own business and how to get there, um, can be very difficult, and it can be, I would assume, a little scary that when you get a third party in that has no vested interest in your monetary success but wants you to succeed, that if they find a different why and they point that out to the client, that might shake things up a little bit, because you'll look at the business and what they do a little different to what they do. I know you're trying to find alignment, but it seems to me that sometimes there's a risk of finding something different. And I would hazard a guess here that those that are more attuned to taking on feedback might go, oh shit, I could do this better. They've shown me a better way. I might adjust myself. So that degree of business ambidexterity, if you want to call it, that ability to move between one place and the other to suit yourself, I think is not just when you're trying to make money, it's also how you develop yourself for the business to be successful. Am I talking out of school here, or does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I was just thinking when you were talking, it's the people that implement quickly are the ones that get the results. The other people that, procrastinate, um, and are not able to get over those little hurdles, are the ones that will either take a bit longer or just won't make it. It's like the 80-20 principle. Um, yeah, that it's the only the small percentage of people that will actually do that will make it, and the other 80% are gonna struggle.
Yeah, and I don't believe by any stretch that all entrepreneurs or small business people are going to be successful. The statistics are pretty clear on that about the failure rate of small businesses, but I think it's those that keep trying or have a failure and then get up and try again and learn from what they did before. I think those are the ones that end up longer term being successful. Maybe not all, but I would think persistence and resilience in that space. And it's easy for someone like me to say, but I think those things would factor in quite strongly. So just two other areas to talk about, if you'll indulge me. So in preparation for this discussion, I know that you guys are running your own business now as business partners. Let me ask you from your perspective, not from your client's perspective, what was the biggest challenge in a partnership type arrangement? I mean, in the business, not in any other
Your
partnership. I'm
personal
talking about the business, yes. But what would you say was the most difficult in forming a partnership in this way?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. Front of the bus. All right. So,
Nice, nice.
so what would I say? The biggest challenges, I think our relationship has been quite easy. So when we changed the model of the business, like Antoinette was there from day one, and she was incredibly smart, incredibly clued on, and our relationship was just easy, and I could just see so much in her, and she'd run a catering business like successfully, so she had so much business knowledge. For me, it would have been just probably trust would have been like the biggest hurdle. Um, you know, can I like everything seems perfect? Like, can I trust? Is something going to happen? In a month or 2 months? But I've been really lucky, and we're partners in business and partners in life. So I think the challenge now, I'll get you to answer in a minute, is can we successfully work in business and can we successfully work in a relationship and not want to sort of, kill each other and bring business. Actually, yeah, Antoinette's yeah, so we have date night every week, so that's something where we have quality time. Yesterday we went to, was it World Kitchen,
Well, buffet.
World Buffet, and like we're both sat here still really full from last night, but
Too much food.
too much food. But yeah, very 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 lucky. Yeah, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say, because from my perspective, I was kind of new to the coaching entrepreneurial space. I'd been in business, like, in the catering business, and then I worked for Google for a bit and did some online work for some other companies. But then kind of starting, so I would do coaching, I would mentor and kind of coach teens with trauma, mindset, that kind of stuff. So when I kind of came into the coaching industry, I just started my business. So I was quite new to the online entrepreneurial space. And I joined Dre's program to start with. And it was kind of just as it started, and we had developed such a good friendship at that point. So I think for me, the challenge because we merged businesses. So my business was the mindset, helping people heal from trauma, that kind of stuff. And we merged the businesses together because we found that anyone that's running their own business needs both. They need the strategy and the skill, but they need the mindset and, the healing and having that belief in themselves. And very often what stops that is previous trauma. So that's sort of where that comes in. So when we merged businesses, I think the biggest challenge for me was, I guess, getting my head around the fact that we were partners now. Whereas I would think, okay, but Dre would make all the decisions. Like, in my mind, and Dre would say, you make the decision. Like, you say what you think. And I'd be like, oh, okay. But that's sort of as we've kind of, that's what's the word? Like, that's not there anymore. Like, kind of with time, we've gotten used to that and the understanding, that we are partners. But I think for me, that was probably, the biggest challenge in terms of, it's not that my business is coming under his, it's we're merging the businesses and we're both equal partners in that. And then, definitely. So the life business aspect, that's something that's been very important from the start, is, having that balance. So it's not all work, and obviously it's not all life, because then you won't have a business. So it's having that balance that's healthy, that I think is important to maintain.
And I'll just add, communication for us is massive.
Yeah.
So just talking about how it's like really funny now, because we used to be at the very beginning, like if we didn't like something, we'd be very sort of we walk around it, but like now it's just like, nah, don't like it. Don't like it. So communication's massive, and it's so cool and so important that we can just be honest about everything.
And that's that. I think, oh, sorry.
No, you go, sorry.
I was just going to say that honesty and that trust, because we had developed that in a friendship from very early on. I think that's been the key, that communication, that trust, that's been the key to sort of really help us build this partnership together. Because, like Jay's saying, we can, in the beginning, from day one, really, we've always been kind of very honest with each other. And I think you need that when you're in partnership in business together. You need that honesty, you need that healthy communication.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's always interesting to me how people end up in businesses like this, and thank you for disclosing that. It's makes it a lot more interesting, I guess, for someone like me who's trying to understand leadership, that in some circumstances you've got partnerships where the people are together, and as well as running the business, and there's all sorts of pitfalls with all business models. So you're not going into uncharted territory. It's more, I would assume, setting up what are the boundaries in the business to make the business work, and hopefully that stuff doesn't cross over to non-business life. And I'm sure there will be challenges ahead, like in any small business. This is one thing I've become more confident about saying is it's never going to be an easy ride. It's how you address what comes up. So if you're glass half full kind of person, life is easy and you deal with the shit when it comes. If you're glass half empty, it makes life a lot more difficult because you're worried about what you don't have. And so from me, more power to you. I hope the model works, and I'm sure it is working. What I would ask as a final thought from you both is, what's one tip from each of you could give to someone listening to this about dealing with a challenge in their business? I'll start with you, Antoinette. Dre's talked far too much, so I'm going to go to you now for this
one. One tip for someone who's dealing with a challenge in business. Honestly, I know I'm kind of a broken record with this, and a lot of people that listen to me will kind of think, there she goes again. I would say it's the inner work. I would say do the inner work, because I think that is key to success in every single area of life. Business, relationships, parenting, even everything. I think doing that inner work and making sure that there's a self-awareness and a self-reflectiveness going on. And if there are any things that come up, doing the work to heal them, doing the work to clear them, I think that's what will be key in every area. That's why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, I would say I love that answer, and I would say it's having the right people around you. So whether that's in your own team, and sometimes it does take a while to find those right people, or whether it's having a coach, a mentor, a business leader, someone that can direct you and guide you and help you to support you to where you want to get to.
Thank you for that. That is an amazing way to end the discussion. Dre and Antoinette, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you, Eric. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
No worries. So for those listening, this has been the Talking Leadership TV podcast series. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, rest of your week, and we'll catch everyone on the next episode of the podcast.